So good afternoon. We have here a group, panel to talk to us about analytics for acquisitions. We have Ken Smith, who is at Valdosta State University, Matt Frizzle, did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, at Georgia Tech, Chandra Jackson, University of Georgia, Jim Rickerson at Clayton State, and LaMonica Sanford at Georgia College and State University. I'll let you all take it away. I believe LaMonica is first up.
Hello, and welcome to our presentation, Analytics for Acquisitions. And our presenters today are from the GIL Acquisitions and Electronic Resources Management Committee and the GIL Assessment Committee. And I am LaMonica Sanford from Georgia College, and I will begin with some information about how we arrived at this presentation and how you will be able to access the resources mentioned in this presentation. Then Matt Frizzell from Georgia Institute of Technology will provide information regarding ALMA usage reports that help us analyze usage within our institution. And Jim Rickerson from Clayton State University will follow with examples of inventory reports and their importance. And then Ken Smith from Valdosta State University will explore cleanup reports within ALMA that we can utilize and edit to fit our institutional needs. And finally, Chandra Jackson from the University of Georgia will provide us with the conclusion and a mini tour of the GIL Wiki, which will highlight the resources in this presentation, as well as provide additional resources that have been curated by both the GIL Acquisitions and Electronic Resources Management Committee and the GIL Assessment Committee. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat, and we will try to answer as many as we can within the allotted time. In August of 2021, the chairs of the GIL Acquisitions and Assessment Committees met to discuss a possible collaboration. The purpose of this meeting was to get a better idea of what reports might be useful to acquisitions workers in small, medium, and large institutions within the USG. And our committees informally polled our members to get a sense of what kind of reports would be most useful to our members. And we also wanted to address the needs of our members who range from ALMA novices to ALMA experts, to those who serve as ALMA administrators, to those who work with ALMA because it falls within their other job duties as necessary responsibilities. So our committee came up with the following shared goal for fiscal year 2022. And I'm sorry, I need to go back to our goals. Got kind of lost there, sorry. So our shared goal was to gather examples of tables and graphs for visualizing acquisitions and electronic resources data, and to identify canned and custom reports related to electronic resources and acquisitions that may be useful to members of each of the aforementioned committees. In the next few slides, I will illustrate how you can locate all of the reports we will share today and how they can be copied to your My folders within ALMA. So from your ALMA home screen, you will want to go to Analytics and then Design Analytics. Once you're on this page that you see here, you will select Catalog. And then you will look towards the left of your screen where you'll see the number 1, and you will select Shared Folders. And this is where you will find the folder that is mentioned above at the top of the screen. This is where we have all of our reports that we've created for this presentation. So you will select Shared Folders, then you will select Community, then you'll select Reports, then it'll open up to the Consortia folder, which you'll select, and then you'll select GALILEO. And then lastly, you will select the last folder that you see on the left-hand side, which is GUGM 22, the ACQ reports for acquisitions. And then once you select that, it will open up into, I guess, a number of the reports that we've created that you see here. Once you select GUGM 22 AC reports, you will go ahead and select the copy icon. Once you select the copy icon, the paste icon will appear. So now you can see the paste icon. Once you select the copy icon, you will also then go to My Folders, which is also on the left side of the screen. You will go ahead and select My Folders. And once you select My Folders, you will go ahead and select the paste icon. And once you select the paste icon, it will be in your folders so that you can manipulate it, you can edit, you can change it, and you can run it if you'd like. So once you have that, you have the GUGM 22 AC reports. They are now in your folders. You can even put them in your institutional folders if you'd like. Afterwards, what you can also do is once you have the folder here, you can look at several of the reports, and any of the reports that you like or that you want to keep or you want to go back for quick reference, you can go ahead and add them to your report. So for instance, if you like the age of collection report and you want to use it and you want to have quick access to it, what you would do is you would select the age of collection report. You would go ahead and select more, and the pull down menu will appear, and you will add it to your favorites. And then after you do that, it will be in your favorites. And so you will be able to retrieve it for quick access. So again, please make sure that you're able to find our reports. This, I guess, PowerPoint will be recorded, so you'll have easy access to this folder. And next is Matt Frizzell with usage reports.
Oh, hold on a second.
Sorry, I was muted.
Yes,
It was bound to happen to one of us. Okay, but thanks, LaMonica. I'm Matt Frizzell, the assessment librarian at Georgia Tech Library. I want to be talking about the different types of usage reports you can run within ALMA and what you may want to use them for. There's also a wiki, which outlines some of these reports and how to run them that we're going to talk about later as well. Before I get to the reports, though, I wanted to discuss some terminology that most of you are probably familiar with, but that relates to library usage reporting. The first term is counter, which refers to the counting online usage of networked electronic resources. And they're an organization and set of standards which reports the usage of a library electronic resources by vendors and publishers. The goal of the standards is to make sure that across publishers, the numbers are measured consistently. Next, you have SUSHI, which stands for Standardized Usage Statistics Harvesting Initiative Protocol, which is a means of collecting the data, which replaces having to manually go in and download each vendor's. And then lastly, NISO stands for National Information Standards Organization, and creates and manages SUSHI and works with Project Counter. So this first slide is an example of usage by platform. The data is set up to automatically be collected via SUSHI. How to do this is outlined in the wiki, but it requires a bit of work initially setting up each of the vendors, platforms, or databases. Once you get everything set up, though, it takes pretty minimal effort to maintain. You just need to add or remove vendors as you acquire or drop them. And you can run these type of reports at any time. Here you see a pie chart which shows percentage use by year within a platform. But you can also run a report like this between platforms. And often these are used for collection development or finding out, do you need to promote different platforms, things like that. This next slide is usage by year. Again, this is harvested by Sushi and its counter reports, but you can run this for ebooks, journals, or databases. You can also do this in a pivot table, which we discuss on the wiki. But I use these reports quite extensively for our ACRL, ARL, and IPED yearly report outs. I have them saved, and I can just run them each year and not have to redo them. I also, and I'll talk about this on my last slide, but I use these type of reports in our library dashboard and yearly impact report. And on this slide, this is usage by title. Again, Sushi harvested counter data. You can run these reports for chapters or journal titles as well. And they're often used when you combine them with cost data to determine cost per use in serial review or when looking at collection development. And this slide is, and I wanted to include this so you have the links. You can go see how we're using these at Georgia Tech. That's our dashboard, and also in our impact report. Next up is going to be Jim talking about inventory reports. Oh, you may be muted.
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted. There are a number of reasons to run reports. Basically, what we want to do is gather data to inform collection development decisions and decide what materials we want to purchase. We want to also ascertain the usefulness of our collections or decide if certain purchasing models like PDA are effective at our schools. We want to justify budgeting decisions about retaining or canceling our subscriptions. And also, as well, we want to respond to national surveys like IPEDS and share data with our colleagues, as well as faculty and university administration. So what I want to share are some examples of the different types of inventory reports that you could run and the types of information that you might glean from those. The wiki has information about how to create the reports. So I'm just going to give you some examples, and you can head over to the data visualizations page on the wiki. What I want to talk about are 4 different kinds of inventory reports. We have our holdings counts. Those will help us answer questions about the size of our collections, how many titles, items, volumes, portfolios that we have. And then we have age of collection reports. Those help us with our weeding and purchasing decisions and inform us about what subject areas are dated, or maybe do they need to be weeded. Then we have overlap reports. Those would measure the amount of duplication in your collection, such as between different formats, physical and electronic, but also between different databases. And then you have strength and weaknesses reports, and that would inform you as to whether your collections are strong compared to different areas in your collection, or you could do peer-to-peer reports and compare yourself to another institution. Shown here on this slide are reports for counts by material type and format. These would be useful if you need information about your collection size. The report on left breaks down physical resources by counts of material type and counts of active records. You could also add additional columns. In this case, we added category of material, and that can be helpful to make your results a little bit more granular, but it also helps you see records that you might want to clean up. So for example, some of these might not be coded correctly. So this could be transformed easily into a cleanup report, which Ken will talk about in his section. Category of materials taken from the 007 field. And you can see how your records are coded. It's pretty simple to add columns for different dimensions that you might be interested in. On the right is a report for electronic resources broken down by resource type and whether that resource is open access or not. So you can answer a variety of different types of questions, and it's pretty much limited just by your imagination. Here we have counts by location and collection. On the left are item counts by shelving location, and this could be easily modified to display titles as well. Or you could add other measures that you're interested in investigating, such as form of item, language code, or resource type, because maybe you want to know how many 3D artifacts you have or how many kits or maps. So that's pretty easy to add additional measures to a report. On the right is an electronic resource report that shows you the number of portfolios by electronic collection name. Included in the report is the electronic collection ID number. So that makes it easy to open up ALMA and search by collection ID to retrieve a list of the portfolios in each of these collections. Also, by adding IDs like MMSID or PID in your reports, you can create sets of records and then work on them. So that's also something helpful to include when you're running a report. And another type of report you might want to run is a count by LC class to see in which LC classes you have the most holdings. Sometimes the data in reports is better viewed as a chart rather than a table. So that gives you a different way to imagine the data. Here we have a tree map view of our physical book holdings by LC class. Some of the visualizations that you can pull up in ALMA aren't as nice as using the data visualization tool. So we're going to add some instructions on the wiki about how to use data visualization as well. This is the same report, except it's viewed as a bar chart. It's the same report, but different LC class, but that just gives you an idea of how you could transform your chart into something completely different. You can also transform the chart that I just showed you on the previous page and run the report in the network zone analytics. And you could change your institution and make this a report that you can use to do peer-to-peer comparisons of holdings. So breaking down your holdings by classification range can help you gauge your collection strength compared to a peer institution. And you could also pretty much, you could easily revise this for subclasses to make it more granular if you want. And that'll help you begin to answer things like where your collection ranks among your peers and what the overall strengths and weaknesses of your collection are. Once you create your holdings reports, you'll need to share them. You can share them internally or externally. Here at Clayton, we set up dashboards in ALMA for that purpose, to share them internally with staff. And in the reports that we share outside the library, we include selected reports on a LibGuide that our liaison librarians use, and they're organized by department. And each of the tabs contains reports on both GALILEO and our local holdings for ebooks and e-journals. And then we created a template that can be used by the liaisons to copy and paste data into a report that they share with their faculty for each department's comprehensive program review. So you can find a link to that guide here. Inventory reports will basically help you answer questions about the size of your collection, how many titles you have, volumes, portfolios, the types of formats that you hold. And of course, you want to know how your collection compares to peer institutions. And you can get statistics that demonstrate the ranking of your collection to a peer library. And that's valuable when you're trying to argue for a higher budget allocation. And you can also use these to cite a specific subject need, like you have a demand brought upon by a new program at your school, for example. Age of collection reports you can run on both electronic and physical collections. This is a table view of an age of collection report. And you can see it's the type of report where you really need to display the data as a graph. So one way you can do this is to create a sliding bar chart. So vertically here, we have the publication dates by decade, and on our x-axis, we have the item count, and then it's filtered by LC class, and you can control that with the slider. Publication dates help you measure the age of your collection by subject area, and it can kind of reveal whether books in different subject areas are outdated. You can transform this using subclasses if you want a more granular view. And it just helps you figure out if books in different subject areas are dated. Unlike the holdings reports that tell you about collection size, this would reveal more information about maybe trends in purchasing patterns at your institution over the years. Overlap reports are a third type of report that you can run, and these measure the degree of duplication that exists within your collection. The report shown on this slide shows possible duplication between your physical and electronic holdings, and it can be filtered by material type, and then it displays the LC start range. And it displays possible duplication because you'd still have to check your catalog to determine whether the titles are a match or not, but it tries to match based on title, author, and publication date. You also can do overlap reports comparing holdings in databases. So one way to do that is using the built-in overlapping collection analysis tool in ALMA to compare electronic collections. And you can easily see whether there's duplication between two different resources. One of the nice convenient things is you can compare collections in your institution zone, or you can compare a collection to a network zone resource. Using this tool is going to help you guide your purchasing decisions because it'll tell you which databases contain similar content in regards to journals or books. You can also use this to compare a database that you're considering acquiring to the network zone holdings and see if those resources already exist in GALILEO. And then wrapping up, you have strengths and weaknesses. So this is a report that you could run that would show strengths and weaknesses using a conditional formatting formula in ALMA Analytics. And it's just basically a report that can be filtered by material type, and it includes criteria for LC class and number of items. And something like this, where you create a little heat map, just helps you quickly see visually in what areas you have the most or the least holdings. And how you do this is by using the conditional formatting in ALMA to change the background color of the cells for the number of items depending on a scale that you decide upon. Conditional formatting can be used whenever you want to apply special formatting to a cell based on certain conditions that are met. So for example, here the background color is applied if the number of items meets a certain criteria, like the number falls between a certain range or it exceeds a certain threshold. So basically what we're presenting in here are just some ideas for reports that you can run at your institution, and then we'll add the step-by-step instructions on the wiki page. And where you can go to get more help if you're just getting started with analytics is going to the document and analytics page. This gives you some how-to guides on different topics like using RCount and the timestamp function and how to create scheduled reports. And it links you out to different PowerPoints created by Ex Libris. And then the common analytics procedure page gives you some useful tips and tricks like adding totals on top of a bar in a bar graph and how to filter columns or concatenate fields. And then the last link is just to be able to download the entire analytics guide, all 650 pages of it. So basically our goal is just to let you know about the different reports, and I'm going to turn it over to Ken and he'll talk about cleanup reports.
Okay, everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
I think I have control. So I have cleanup reports, and this category is a little bit more narrow than that. The two cleanup reports we are featuring are for electronic resources. And this is a category that could really grow here as we look at the possibility of moving to a new library platform. But right now there are two reports that we feature. One of them is portfolios with static URLs, which are available. And I'm really not going to talk about that one. I'm going to focus on the active and inactive electronic portfolios. For both of these reports, they really travel well, that no edits are required to localize the reports. In terms of updating, no edits are required. You don't have to forward a date when the fiscal year changes or anything like that. They're pretty much good to go. And I'm not sure. There we go. Uh-oh. Sorry, folks. There's a bit of a lag here. And I cannot see. There we go. So this is a screenshot of the results tab on the active and inactive portfolios. And basically, we've got a combination here that's potentially problematic, where the availability is, it's not available, and yet the suppression from discovery is no, it's not suppressed. So these are items that really bear looking at. And in terms of, I want people to think in terms of workflows and how they can use these reports. So for me, I like having that MMS ID that would make checking these items a lot faster. So you can add the MMS ID on the criterion tab. And one thing you'll experience if you do any kind of analytics work is where columns end up on the results tab is a little bit unpredictable. It can be a bit capricious. So a lot of times you'll want to reorder the actual order of the columns. I like having the MMS ID right next to the title, so I don't grab the wrong one by mistake. To reorder these columns, all you have to do, you have to be at the results tab, and then if you kind of put your cursor just above the header there, you'll get a little directional. It'll turn into a directional cursor, and if you just click it, and then you can drag your column wherever you want it. Okay. Other columns, fields that might be of interest include the PO line notes. So you can see the note here for human organization canceled 2020. This is a kind of workflow. It's going to vary from institution to institution. The ERM people may want to talk to the acquisitions people if they feel it would help their workflow to have certain PO line notes added. So that is a possibility. And in terms of a technique, I wanted to share a technique that's really simple and potentially very useful, and that has to do with adding repeating values. Invariably, the reports, they're downloaded to Excel, and a further manipulation occurs. And the default in analytics is to suppress repeated fields. So you can see for the electronic collection public name, and we've got the Allen Press, and you have that one entry, and then it's just within Excel, this is like a block of merge cells, and that kind of thwarts efforts to resort the spreadsheet. And you can get around that very simply if you go to the column that's problematic. You go to column properties and the format. Here at the bottom, you see where it says value suppression. The default is to suppress it. And all you have to do is change that to repeat. And you can see the before and after here. So on the left here, problematic for Excel. On the right, that would not be. Okay, from here, I'm just putting this report to work. So look up the Journal of Athletic Training, and you can see why this bib record is not suppressed, because in fact there are other active portfolios on here. Some other records that are more problematic. So we have the Journal of Materials Chemistry collection, which appears to be empty. This is a probably implementation issue. This has probably been sitting around for a long time. If you go to the portfolio list, again, you can see this is just empty. And from here, you could delete this from the ellipse, or you could, excuse me, or there are jobs available for portfolio work. So it is possible to delete all those problematic portfolios in one swell swoop. The report includes the portfolio IDs. So that is the header for running a deletion. And that's all she wrote. Chandra.
Okay, let me see. Okay. I suppose this slide should be entitled, but wait, there's more detail. It's, because the data visualization section of the GIL documentation wiki is home to various useful reports, short how-to videos, and a report request submission form. Here you can see I put the address to get to the correct spot in the wiki, the correct section of the wiki, and I am going to try to share my screen if I can. Can I?
Yes, each of you have the ability to share your screen.
Okay, so let's look here. Okay, can you all see my screen now?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Here it comes. Now we can see it.
Okay. All right, so this is the data visualization section of the wiki. Before we get started on what's actually in this section, I'd like to point out, as I feel like you've all been waiting to see the wiki. It's been talked up through this whole presentation, but I wanted to point out the link over here on the left that Matt alluded to about if you are just coming to assessment in your institution and you don't have your sushi loading for counter report set up yet, there is a section of the wiki over here on the left. You can just click on it and it has instructions on setting up sushi and loading counter 4 and counter 5 release stats and some more ex libris documentation down here. So that's where that is on the wiki. What we really want to look at here, though, is the data visualization section of the wiki. And I wanted to talk a little bit about data visualization because the first three reports here, or the first 3 examples here, are different ways to visualize your data: a pivot table, a line graph, and a pie chart. So one of the things that's going to drive, well, first of all, why would you want to visualize your data? Well, because I think we're all very familiar with the situation of looking at a spreadsheet full of raw data and just sort of glazing over, our eyes glaze over, we can't really pick out any trends or patterns or any useful information. So the visualization method is a way in which you can curate your large amounts of data into a more understandable form, and it helps you to communicate your data more effectively. So, for example, a pivot table, like you can see in this example of how to create a pivot table, is useful if you have patterns or trends you would like to highlight or to pull out, according to your audience, what is the most important takeaways in your data. For example, you know, people are busy and maybe they don't want to see your whole spreadsheet. They just want to be able to point to the place in your pivot table that says, oh, but see how many requests we got in April as compared to July for this EBSCOhost platform. So a pivot table is one of the ways in which you can bring that information to the fore in order to get the exact information that your audience needs to know out of your report. As we all know, a line graph, a visualization into a line graph is useful when you want to highlight a specific variable's change over time. So for example, in this example, this shows you how to create a line graph that will show you over the course of a year the movement of the TRJ1 total item requests. So you can, that's a way that you can track changes in your data over time. And then the pie chart is very useful, or pie graph or pie chart is a useful way to highlight parts or percentages of a whole. So for example, in this example, we're looking at the Cambridge platform, total item request by platform, and we wanted to look at Cambridge and have it broken out between the 3 Cambridge platforms in terms of percentages of usage. So this report or this example will show you how to create that type of visualization. And all of these reports are, you can click on the pop out and they have directions that you can modify or just use as is. You can modify using your knowledge of your own local collections and what kind of information you wanted to get out of them. So the next, then these 4 reports here. The next 4 reports are the data cleanup and collection analysis reports that were previously discussed in this presentation. And these are detailed instructions on how to create those reports for yourself. As you can see, each report example has a little paragraph over here telling you what this report might be useful for. The overlap material, as Jim and Ken reported in their parts of the presentation. Overlap reports, cleanup reports, age of collection reports, and then down here, the last example we have is the creation of this is sort of a master report, usage by platform, the platform master report, and this is easily adapted to your own individual institution as well. In addition to these detailed instructions for these reports that we've highlighted today, we also have several short how-to videos on the wiki. For example, how to sort columns in analytics. I think Ken was talking about that, how to sort columns in analytics, how to exclude columns, how to add table prompts in your pivot tables and drop-down menus, all sorts of fancy ways in which you can manipulate your data in order to communicate the message to your audience that you want to highlight. How to format data using conditional formatting, how to add row numbers. And then finally, down here at the bottom, we have an analytics report request form. If you're struggling with analytics, like me, I've learned so much by being just a part of this presentation, but if you're struggling with analytics, or you're just in the very early stages, or you just, it just became one of your other duties as assigned, and you'd like to ask members of the assessment or the acquisitions and ERM committees for assistance in creating a report, you can use this form. It's just a simple Google form. There are some required fields, and you just fill that out, and it will eventually get to the right person. Sooner rather than later, we hope. That's why we have this mandatory deadline field that you need to fill out. After you're done, you just click submit. You may also use this form to request reports that you would like to see us post in the wiki, or in the shared folders section of analytics. If you have some reports that you are particularly proud of, or you think would be great to share with everyone in USG, or would be useful for people, you can always either use this form to submit them, or you can also contribute reports by emailing a copy of the PDF of your report, kind of using this format that we've already sort of established up here with the ones we've already put, just kind of slides that document how to create the report. You can send those PDFs to either LaMonica or I. This will change. Both of us are rolling off and will no longer be the chairs, but there will always be someone that you will be able to send your reports to if you would like to contribute them for the good of the USG. And again, the reports that all of the reports that we have featured today are in this shared folders using this path right here. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'm going to, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. So that is the end of our presentation, and we are open for questions.
All right, great. Thank you guys so much for that. Like, honestly, I mean, I think I know analytics, but you all provided a lot of helpful information. So I've already uploaded the slides to the website on the Sketch site, so everyone has access to what you just saw. Let's see if there are any questions. Let's see. No, but I'll read what LaMonica put in here. She said, if you're struggling with analytics and would like to ask members of the assessment or ERM committees for assistance, she has put a request form link in the chat. So grab that and save it. There's been some other shared folders and links that would be helpful to everyone. Are there any questions? I know there was a lot of information.
I would like to say that that the wiki itself has a lot of good information, not just information about assessment or things like that, but just a lot of information about different aspects of working with the different modules in ALMA. So that it's a really good resource, and I don't really know how many people know that. I actually saw someone on a listserv the other day in a conversation that was going on say, you know, I found a lot of, it wasn't about assessment reports, it was about some other thing, but I found a lot of good tips on the Georgia USG site. Their wiki has a lot of good information. So that was just some unsolicited praise from a random librarian on a listserv that was struggling with something and was able to find answers in the GIL wiki. So I encourage everyone to explore the GIL wiki, not just the parts that I've shown you today, but all of it.
Right. And I just also wanted to emphasize, I guess, that the wiki is a good resource, and it is a good resource for those, of course, that have expert knowledge. But it's also a good resource for those that are just beginning. So I would highly encourage you to just take a look at the wiki, all parts of it actually. So.
And I would also like to say thanks to Jim Rickerson, our fellow presenter, for providing all of the examples that we used today. And he is also the incoming chair of the Acquisitions and ERM Committee. So he will be receiving your requests for assistance after July 1st, if you need to submit something to the wiki or you have a question.
Okay, I was gonna say congrats on being the new chairperson, but I know, you know, being a new chairperson means a little bit extra work, but in this case, as it is with many cases, you're doing something good for the greater community. So yeah, kudos, Jim. And Marie Day did write in very informative presentation. Thank you.
Yep. And also Marie will also be the incoming chair for the assessment committee, and then followed by Ken Smith, who will be the vice chair and chair-elect. So
okay, awesome. Well, there are no other questions or no other last words from the presenters. We will go ahead and close it out. I want to thank you all for attending today. Thank you to all of the participants who came today, as well as thank you to all of our presenters. This was very, very informative. I feel like I'm repeating myself presentation after presentation, but they all have such great information, and this one is no different. As I mentioned, the slides they're already available on the Sketch site, and the recording will be uploaded shortly. So thank you all very much. Hope to see you tomorrow for day 3. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.